Hello, and thank you for tuning in into this edition of the Inspire series with me, Gloria Dozian. Now imagine if you went to bed absolutely fine tonight and then woke up with pain in your legs. After months of treatments and agonizing pain, the doctors tell you you have osteogenic sarcoma, which essentially is a bone cancer, or rather cancer of the bone. Well, that's exactly what happened to my next guest on the Inspire series, Adenike Oyetunde. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Adenike.
Thank you so much for having me.
Adenike is a lawyer turned broadcaster and works on Nigeria Info. You can catch her show on the morning drive time, right?
Yes, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. every weekday.
Okay. So Adenike, let's get right to it.
Okay.
I've known you for a while now. Actually, I've known you for almost 3 years or so.
Thereabouts.
And to me, you've always seemed like a tomboy.
Really?
Yes, you've always seemed like you always had this, always very playful and all of that.
Okay.
So what was life like for you before you had to amputate your leg?
Wow. Growing up as an only child, I think really shaped how everything about me was.
Okay.
I pretty much was hardly ever at home. I was always at a cousin's, or I had family friends at my place. And I was predominantly the only girl in my compound. I grew up in Ikoyi, and I was the only girl. So I think I can attribute that to the tomboy trait you're talking about.
Okay, so I'm right. You are a bit of a tomboy. Okay.
Yes, I was. Or I still am once in a while. It was really good. I did everything I wanted to. I got scolded as often as I deserved to. And growing up, primary, secondary, university, pretty much everything was good. I started driving very early, and I used to walk about a whole lot, and then my mom always used to scold me and shout, and I don't know why, you're the only girl. I used to play football with the boys, and I always used to be the goalkeeper. So, I had a beautiful childhood. I rolled tires, I played with the covers of the drinks. It was good. So growing up pretty much was very good, and life before my amputation was fairly good. I enjoyed my life, and I think I have no regrets about anything I did before the amputation, because in hindsight now I'm wondering, okay, what if I hadn't done things that I did? I probably would be living a life of misery right now. So it was good.
So you had a good childhood, everything was fine, you were in university. What changed?
Wow. So in my second year in university, I came home. I went to the Ogun State University, and I came home for one weekend. And we had started having water issues at home, and I was about to leave for school actually, and then there was water. So I thought, okay, why don't I help my folks fill in the barrels and store water in the house. So I had finished fetching the water, and with the very last bucket, I slipped and fell. So it was like a regular fall.
Okay.
And that was on a Sunday. So afterwards, I went to school. And I went to school. I usually had to go to school by public transportation. So I went to school, and good. And, fast forward to Thursday, I just wanted to get out of the bed, and I just couldn't stand up. I really will not be joking about my inability.
So at this point, were you panicking, or were you just like, oh, I can't stand up from the bed? Were you scared, or?
What exactly has happened to this leg? I just couldn't stand up for whatever reasons. And then my roommates realized that I was not joking at all. So how did you finally get up, or were you carried into the car?
I
was carried.
Oh wow, okay.
Yes, my friend Tayo carried me, and it was very funny because I'm thinking back and I'm wondering what happened. So because we not understand the extent of what exactly we were dealing with, he took me straight home. And then the next day I went to the hospital, and then another phase of my life started. So I went to the hospital. I had to do x-ray, and they said I had a blood clot.
Okay.
Owing to the fall, because they started to ask questions, did you fall? And then, oh yes, I fell like 5 days ago. And the doctor goes, that shouldn't be such a big deal. Okay, just take and who knows, but your bone's probably broken or thereabout. So I had to do x-ray, and after doing the x-ray, they found out it was blood clot. So they say, we have to drain blood.
Okay.
So we drained blood, and I went back to school.
Okay, so by this time you were now walking.
I had started walking, but I was limping.
Okay.
I had my drugs. I started to eat more because of the drugs and all that.
Okay.
But then I realized that it was not healing. But then doctor just says, you're probably not responding to the drugs that we've given you. Let's try some other form of medication. Come to Lagos. We need to see you. So I went back to Lagos. and I went to the hospital, same hospital, and I had another scan. And this time they said, okay, inability to, they failed actually to drain out the blood properly the first time.
Wow.
So they had to do another surgery. And this time I actually did see the blood. It was not your regular blood. It was dark and all that.
At what point were you now diagnosed? What now led to the diagnosis?
I think, in my opinion, I believe strongly that the doctor knew from the day one what it was.
Oh, wow.
But
Well, why wouldn't he tell you if he knew?
I think he started to add emotions. She's an only child. How would her parents react? Let's try some other options. Let's see some other things will happen. That's what I think. Because thinking back now, after the second surgery, he comes and says he wants to refer me to the orthopedic hospital in Lagos because he thinks it's more of a bone issue, which they don't have so much facility to deal with. But the way he said it, I just knew there was something not right about it, because it was evidence that he just wanted to pass the buck. He just wanted to, okay, you just go. But then we eventually went, but I stole my reports. And I stole it.
Stole?
Yes, I did.
Aren't you allowed access to your own records?
There's some things they will not let you. So I think one of the papers in the doctor's file was what I took out.
Okay.
So there's this, I have this nurse in my area who runs a pharmacy, and then we actually took it to her to say, what does this mean? From her reaction, it was evident there was trouble, because her face just dropped. And then when she realized I was looking, and then she goes, oh, no, we just go to the orthopedic hospital, I'm sure. And she said that she didn't give us a straight answer or interpretation of what the document was. So I got to the orthopedic hospital, and they took samples. At this point in time, I had, it was like a wound. So they took swab and so many things, blood tests, and eventually, one fateful day, which I don't think I'll forget the doctor's face. I hardly ever think. You know, he just comes into the room and he just says, I was there with my dad, and he just hurriedly, you know, opened the door and just said, hello, sir. Hello, young lady. You have cancer of the bone, and it's a Thursday. I'm booking you for a surgery on a Tuesday, and I need you to amputate your leg. And I was just looking at him like... He
just like that? No...
There were
no prep,
emotions,
nothing.
whatsoever.
And he hadn't called your father aside separately to give your father the news?
He told us there and then together, and that was the first time I ever saw my father cry in my entire life. My father just broke down, and my father was crying, and I was busy saying, no, Daddy, he doesn't know what he's saying. In his presence, I was saying, nah, he doesn't know. He's not talking to me. So after like 5 minutes, the doctor says, young lady, I'm talking to you. What do you want? What do you have to say? I'm like, you cannot be talking to me. If you ask me to come and take out my finger, I would think about it for 3 months. This is my leg. No, you're not talking to me. And then he just says, okay, let us know what it is you want to do.
Do you think that the delay in them not diagnosing you earlier contributed to that sort of severe treatment?
I strongly believe that the time I spent at the initial hospital really caused a lot of problems.
Okay.
Because I believe that if I had gone to the orthopedic hospital from the onset, I'm sure, because the truth about it is, it actually started in my knee. But because of the delay and so many things put together, then it extended, because I am an above knee amputee, very high above knee. Okay. So it actually cost so much. So I strongly believe that delay actually cost a whole lot, and it would have been a different ballgame entirely to what we're talking about.
So at first you're diagnosed, then there's a bit of denial.
Yes.
So did you try any alternate remedies, or did you? What was your emotion? A lot of people, when things happen to them, they go like, "Why me?" They blame God. They blame whoever. They're angry. They go through denial, depression. What sort of emotions were you experiencing?
I strongly believe that we denied for so long. I denied it for so long. I denied it because I just figured, oh, God is not a wicked person. I'm an only child. Why didn't he have to pick my friends that come from a family of 7 or 8? Why did it have to happen to me? So I denied it as an individual. We denied it all as a family and my immediate friends as well. And then going to alternative, yes, I tried alternative drugs. I tried a whole lot of drugs, Glory. I tried so much that after I returned home eventually, the cans of drugs I had taken actually filled 2 big bags. I had taken so much. There was so much toxin in me. There was so much, and everybody just wanted, you know what, let's just, let's see, it probably will help. Yes, it will. But we hardly did not know that it was making everything worse. It was making it so worse. So right now, that experience has changed my mind. So at work, you tell me you have a headache. First thing I say is, please go to the doctor. I have stopped
self-medicating.
I have stopped it so much, and I think that if only we had accepted what it was, it would have really helped. It would have saved my time, because I was ill for such a long while. It would have saved the money that was spent. It would have saved us the stress, and the healing process would have started
much sooner.
Would have started much sooner.
So take me to the day of the surgery.
Wow.
What are you thinking?
I can't forget, because I remember so well the under 17. I love football. Okay. The under 17 team led by the late Yemi Tella, I remember was playing, and Adenike Oyetunde scored, and we won the tournament. And okay. I was in my hospital bed in UCH. I was in Southwest 1, and you know, they told me I had to, today was the day I had to undergo surgery, and I had been preparing for it long, okay. you know, beforehand, and I just knew. There's one thing that happened before my surgery. I remember that because there was an injury, so I had to have the, you know, the leg, as it were, dressed from time to time, cleaned. And one particular day, the doctors and nurses were not, I don't know, for whatever reasons, we didn't do it. And then the next day, the nurses came, and I actually did see a maggot in my leg. Then I knew, nah.
No, but what caused that? Was it it had become infected? Or?
I think I just don't know. I think it had it was obviously cancerous. It was eating up. It was just so many things together. Till today I never asked why. But the nurses thought I didn't see it, but I actually did see it, and I just knew. No, that day I have to do this surgery like tomorrow. So
you were now from denial. You were like, okay,
I knew.
You accepted.
Exactly, and all through this entire process, from when I left the orthopedic hospital to Ibadan, and when I had the amputation, I had not seen my mom. She couldn't see me. So that was another phase that I had just shut aside. But she used to talk constantly. We used to talk on the phone. She used to send me things, but she was not ready mentally to see me. So it was just my father and I. My father was usually living in a car, and you know, it's very funny how you have family and everybody just stays away. Okay, so
do you want to take a break?
No, it's fine. It's fine. So I did the surgery, and before I did the surgery, I remember every time they had to come dress my leg, the nurses would say, you need to tilt. I'll tell my dad, I can't move. My father would be shouting, you need to move, you need to do this. But I'm like, I'm helpless, I'm trying so hard, I can't move. I was on the bed for such a long while. And eventually, you know, when I had the amputation, in government hospitals right now, when they amputate or take out body parts, they don't dispose of it. They actually give it back to family members, because a lot of people have alleged that they use them for rituals and they sell them off. So,
but isn't that medical waste? Or what is it classed as?
Yes,
it's medical waste, so it's hazardous, isn't it?
It is. It is. So I don't know if it has changed now, but back then, they yanked off my limb and, you know, gave it to my And, you know, the whole chemotherapy, I remember, so my birthday was in the hospital, and I think till date that has been the best birthday I've ever had.
Okay, so this is the birthday after?
Yes, on the 5th of March. Okay. And I was actually, my friends were in the hospital with me, and were actually, you know, combing my hair, and then one very big chunk just fell up. And then that was, I think, the first day I cried after the whole thing. My hair just... It
was one thing too much.
Wow. My hair just fell off. It was so big. Like one whole part just came out. Like, wow. And then I just started to cry. The entire process was such that I think one of the reasons why I had so much strength in quote was because I realized that as the strength I showed would actually reflect on my father and my mother. And I knew for certainty that if I... you know, told my dad I'm fine, he believes I'm fine. Because we're so close that if I say I'm, you know, Daddy, I'm down. My dad automatically. So I had mustered so much strength all through the process. And on my birthday, my father just started to cry again. I remember the pictures, you know, he just started crying. And
was he crying because he saw your hair fall out? Or?
He was crying because of the show of love. My friends from secondary school, I had not seen in years. I don't know how they did it. A lot of them came, my friends from university. You know, so many of my friends came around, and it was such a beautiful birthday. At the end of it, you know, everybody in the hospital, in my hospital ward, just went, oh my gosh, this person is such a great person, and blah, 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 blah. Another experience for me was the first time I came down from the bed after the amputation. It was like I was floating, because I'm like, okay, what's happening? I actually stood up and I went back to bed immediately. And then my doctors came around and he asked me, have you stood up from your bed yet? I'm like, yes, I have, but I just don't understand what happened. And then he goes, it's normal. Do you want to try it again? And then we tried it again, and I just stood up and I started to walk around. The irony about it is, it was an orthopedic ward. Almost everybody had one leg hanging. I was the only one who could move around. So even in my state, you see people still sending me on errands, my fellow ward people. And I had a television and a DVD player. So I'll watch a film. If you had brought any movie to me, I'll see the movie. After seeing it, I'll turn my television towards. So it was like, a movie took like 6 days for everybody
to go around.
So we in the whole process, even in the hospital, we just had to be strong for each other and all that. Let's
talk about the support system now during recovery. Like, so you've kind of talked about your mom not being able to sort of, you know, mentally accept and emotionally accept what was happening to her.
She still doesn't accept sometimes.
And then you talked about your dad having to sleep in the car. And I also know, because I also know you personally, some of the financial challenges that obviously would have gone through, your family would have gone through at that time. Was there any did you feel any form of guilt that you were putting your parents through that? And was that why you had to show that you were strong?
Funny enough, I didn't feel any form of guilt. I think that one of the reasons that I didn't feel that was because I was very close to my dad. I remember one day we had only 10,000 naira, my dad, myself, and my mom, home, abroad, naira, domiciliary, everywhere. We had only 10,000 naira. And my dad just got back and said, okay, I just brought this last money and this is it. But people just always came around. There was one particular day I had to buy drugs, and one random girl in my class who I hardly ever spoke to just calls me and says, oh, I'm outside your ward, can I come in? I'm like, okay, yes. And then she comes just as the doctors were telling me you need to buy drugs worth so amount. And then she comes with an envelope with the exact amount of money. People that I thought would have stayed just faded into thin air. At some certain point in time, some neighbors actually did think it was contagious, and they started to avoid us.
Okay. So we've talked a bit about your treatment, and now and you've talked about the first time you stood after the amputation and how you felt a bit eerie in a way. So take me from that point up until you're getting a prosthetic limb.
Wow. When it's interesting you asked me about that, because I just remembered now the very first prosthetic limb I got. It was horrific. And it cost me almost 500,000.
This is 500,000 in what year now?
2008.
Okay, so that's a lot.
2007, 2008. It was horrific. It was heavy. It was just, I'm a very high above knee amputee. So even most prosthetists would rather deal with a double amputee who is below knee than one, because it's very difficult.
So when you say very high, just for the sake of our viewers, what does that mean when you say very high?
My stomach is really low.
Okay.
So it takes so much to do a prosthetic limb for someone like myself, as against someone like Oscar Pistorius, for instance, or some other person who has a longer residual limb left. And after getting the limb, I just could not walk with it. So I went, look here, Daddy and Mommy, I think I'll just rather move around my crutches. I had become a Michael Jackson with my crutches everywhere. I was doing virtually everything. My friends that had cars, I used to drive their cars. I used to bike a lot, it used to become a problem. Why are you biking? But I'm like, I didn't have a car. So I'm like, I need to go to places and I will not become a liability to someone. So moving from that to finally being excited that I was going to get a prosthetic limb, getting the limb, and it was just a mess. It was just very emotional and heartbreaking. I'll be very sincere. Those were one of the times when I just sat down and I just started to talk to God and just say, look, I don't think I can deal with this any longer.
And thank you very much, Nike. So we'll be back on the Inspire series after a quick break.